Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishmadronatata Jayadrathajala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashvathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhanavartini Sottirna Khalu Pandavairananadi Kaivartaka Keshavaha Parashariyavachas Sarojamamalam Gitarthagandhotkatam Nanakyanaka Kesaram Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpadairaharaha Pepiyamanam Muda Bhuyad Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamsina Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Kirim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedais Sangapadakramopanishadair Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. We are studying the Atmasamyama Yoga, the yoga of self-control and the yoga of focus. This is the 6th chapter. It's also called as Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. In the previous verses, Sri Krishna has spoken about the care that we have to take before we start meditation. How we should discipline our body, how we should discipline the different sense organs, etc. And then in the 15th verse, Sri Krishna told us that we should try to connect ourselves to the divine at all times, just as if we want continuous electricity, the power in our house, we need to connect ourselves to the grid. Just use the same analogy to our lives also. If I need constant flow of pure energy within me, purity within me, then I need to connect myself to the divine. It is not enough for me just to, come once, go once to the temple or to the church or the mosque, wherever it is, just one day, and then the rest of the 6 days you do whatever you like. No, that is not it. That is why Sada Atmanam, he is very enforcing this discipline. Sada, all the time. Just one corner of your mind, leave it for the divine. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, with 1/4 of your mind, you think of the divine, and with 3/4 of that, you conduct all the activities. And then slowly, when your work is accomplished, work is finished, then give 3/4 of the mind to the Lord, and 1/4 of your mind for your breathing and other activities. And then a time should come when you will, through the force of habit, you will be able to concentrate 100% of your mind to the connection with the divine. It is possible. It is not impossible. Shantim. What happens when you do that? Nirvana paramam shantim adhigacchati. One gets that state of peace from where there is no going back. That means you will become so peaceful that nothing in the world will disturb you, will not even touch you, so to say. It cannot come and come near you. They will all be afraid. Disturbances will be afraid to come before you. So, in the 16th verse, Sri Krishna again enforces some disciplines, not eating too much or not eating too less. Jagrato, not sleeping too much, nor not sleeping too little. So you should follow the middle path, Madhyapanta, as Bhagavan Buddha spoke about the middle path. So we should adopt the middle path in everything. Don't go to extremes. The idea is, in whatever you do, don't go to extremes. If you are moving to the extremes, then there is danger. Do not move to the extremes. Be safely in the middle. That is the idea. Yuktahara viharasya, yukta chestasya. While eating also, eat as much as is necessary, and in action also. Unnecessarily do not drag on all work upon yourself and try to do it, and then you will say, oh, nobody is helping me. That's what we do. We try to drag on all the work upon ourselves, and then we will complain that nobody is helping us. So then don't do that. Leave it to others. That is something which we need to learn. Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatishthati. In the 18th verse, Sri Krishna speaks about what we achieve in fullness of the spirit, what we achieve when we reach to that state. Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatishthate nisprahas sarvakamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tada. Yada viniyatam chittam. Yada means when. So Sri Krishna is now giving some responses to his own questions. Yada viniyatam, one who is controlled, viniyatam, chittam, the mind, atmani eva avatisthate, keeps the mind within oneself. I will come to this explanation a little later. Nisprahaha, such a person becomes freed from all the external disturbances. Nisprahaha, there will be no interest. Sarva kamebhya, desires will not come and disturb you. Yukta, then you will become united with the divine. Let me read the running meaning. When the disciplined mind is able to remain established in the Atman alone, when it is free from longing for all objects of desire, then it is spoken of as having attained to spiritual communion. Sri Krishna is mentioning about the external disturbances that we feel. So, what we achieve in fullness is that the mind becomes totally composed, it totally becomes controlled. The mind is like a lake, it's like a big lake. And there are waves that are arising in this lake of the mind. And when these waves completely stop, it is known as viniyata. That means it is totally under control. There are two reasons why disturbances arise in our mind. One is external stimuli. When something external comes, suppose there is a calm pool of water, you throw a stone or a ball into it. What happens? The whole sheet of water will start moving and there is disturbance. That means external disturbances come and stop the lake from being what it should be. And then the internal. Externally, you may not get any stimuli or any disturbances, but internally, this is called as the samskaras. Internally, they start coming. You may go into a cave, you may go into the top of the mountain and try to meditate over there where there is no people, no noise, nothing. But yet, you are carrying with yourself your own mind. And therefore, those things that are already hidden up, pent up here, they come up and then they start disturb you at all times. So the internal bubbles, rather, they come and they start disturbing our poise, the peace of the mind. The restlessness that we experience while we indulge in the activities of the sense organs, Strotra, Tvak, Jihva, Grana, Prana, they cause these stimulations. So therefore he says, the mind, when you follow this path of yoga, your mind becomes composed, your mind becomes totally stable, it becomes very steady. Then, when we do not indulge in enjoyment, we may not indulge in enjoyment, but internally we might be savoring something. It is called as spruha. For a yogi of this type, even that internal desire that I should enjoy this will not come at all. It will completely vanish to such a person. That longing, that wanting will not be there. So the third one that Sri Krishna is talking about is that when in the fullness of yoga, when you achieve to that state of yoga, the door for both the external and the internal stimulation will get closed, will get shut. Then the mind will firmly reside in the Atman, in one's own self. There is infinite possibilities in the mind. Many of you are mothers, you yourself know when you train your children, you see so much of possibilities in them. You only have to stoke the fire, as it were, in them. That's all that you are doing. You are just igniting that fire and it will burn with itself, by itself. So there are these infinite possibilities in our mind. It's a storehouse of power. We have a big battery within ourselves, as it were. But unfortunately, we waste it. Patanjali, in the Yoga Sutras, he talks about two states of our mind. One, he calls it as Kshipta, that is gathered, and Vikshipta, that is, which is scattered, gathered and scattered mind. When we are asleep, our mind is gathered totally. That is why sleep is such a wonderful recharger for all of us. If we sleep very well, it charges us for the next, for facing the vicissitudes of the next day. So this mind, that is to say the mind, if it can be composed, if it can be gathered together, it is a storehouse of great power, great energy. It helps us in our day-to-day life. Therefore, the mind which does not have the concentration of energies are just like the rays of the sun. The example given is the sun's rays. It is scattered everywhere. Then what do? Children take a lens, a magnified lens, and then they put a piece of paper, and then the paper start burning when sun's rays go through it. What is happening? All the rays of the sun are getting concentrated within the lens, and as a result, there is so much of power coming out through that. So it is said in science that when the wavelength is reduced, means the meditations of the mind is reduced and the frequency is increased, the frequency of power, that means the frequency of the longing that I want to be with God, I want to be with God, I want to connect myself to the divine, that is the frequency. When that is increased, then it becomes like X-ray, for example. It can pierce through even the skin. The rays can pierce even through the skin. So this is called as ekagra. Eka agra. Eka means one, agra means the tip. So ekagra means focusing everything on one tip. That means one point. The point for us here in this meditation is the divine. I am focusing all my energies. I am doing all my actions. I am thinking all my thoughts, but everything at the end, I am focusing everything upon God. Whatever I am doing it for the sake of God, by Him, for Him. That is the idea that Sri Krishna is trying to emphasize here through these verses. Ordinarily, by meditation, we understand it as a concentration. Concentration, mere concentration is not meditation. Let us make it very, very clear. If concentration was meditation, a painter could have been a great meditator. A wonderful chef could have been a great meditator. A wonderful musician could have been a great meditator. No, concentration is not meditation. What here we are doing is that we are bringing all the energies to focus on something that is very, very live, very energetic, something that is very real. Today you may not realize God as real, but when you go deeper and deeper within yourself, you will find that that is the only reality. The Atman, the Self, is the only reality. This must be understood at all times. So here, we withdraw all the mind and then focus on itself. You are not focusing on something external. You are focusing your mind on itself. That means the Atman, on the Self. You are focusing it on the Self. Sri Ramakrishna used to give an example. In olden times, the trains used to have these guards. And the guard would hold a lamp called the bull's eye lamp. The bull's eye lamp. So with that he will be signaling for the train to stop or to leave. So the bull's eye lamp it used to have a wick with oil in the middle, and then it used to be covered on three sides with a black paint, and one side of it has got a lens which will focus the lamp upon the train for signaling. It's called the bull's eye lamp. Now, Sri Ramakrishna used to say that there is a particular train conductor used to be very kind with people. He would help people to get their luggage down, and then would stop the train when he would see somebody needing some help and all that. So somebody from the village went and told him, "Sir," it was dark in the night, "you are such a kind man. You are focusing the lamp onto the train. Can you please focus the lamp onto yourself so that we can see your wonderful face and recognize you. So smilingly, he focused it upon himself. Meditation is this technique of focusing all the energies upon ourself, that is the real self that is within us, the divine, you can call it the divine or the Atman or the self, whatever you want to call, you can name it, doesn't matter. So we have to focus all the energies within ourselves. In painting, in music, in cooking and all that, what are you doing? You are focusing all the energies on a particular object, an external object. Here, the object is internal. Internal. It should be internalized. So, dhyana, when we do that, what happens? When we start focusing it, all the dirt and the germs that have accumulated in our mind will all be completely removed. It will all be completely destroyed, as it were. Just as when you heat a vessel, then all the germs in that is destroyed. In the same way, this is called as tapas. The spiritual practice is known as tapas. Tapa means to heat, to warm up or to heat. What are you doing? You are warming up yourself. You are heating up, so to say. Heating is a figure of speech, but heating here means you are focusing all of the energies within yourself, and as you focus all of your energies, the mind becomes pure and pure and pure. And then the reflect can see, oh, God was not outside somewhere. I was searching for peace outside. It is here within me. The peace that I was looking for outside was with me at all times. Why am I searching for that externally? That is the thought that will come. That is the feeling that will come to us when we follow these instructions of the Lord Krishna. Yada viniyatam chittam atmani eva avatisthate nisprihaha sarva kamebhyaha. Kamebhya means wants. They are endless. Needs are very few, but our wants are endless. You cannot put a full stop to that. But when that peace overtakes all of these wants, then the wants will disappear, as it were. They will run away. They will be chased out of ourselves. You will not have any want at all. Be free. You will be joyous at all times. Sri Ramakrishna, he had very few possessions, very few things in his room. You would find very, very sparingly a few items. And sometimes he would wear a cloth, and sometimes he would be without the cloth and also. And he would say, look here, I do not have any to worry about anything at all. He would be like a child, carefree. That is what happens when one focuses one's attention within oneself. And the Divine Mother was providing him with whatever he wanted. He never lacked anything, but he never wanted anything. Nothing was lacking for him. Whatever he wanted, there would be people waiting to give it to him, but he did not need anything. He did not want anything at all. So that is the idea that we get here. The 19th verse, he gives another example. Yatha deepo nivatastho ningate sopamasprita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. Yatha deepaha nivatastha is giving example of the flame of a lamp. The flame of a lamp sheltered from wind does not flicker. This is the comparison used to describe a yogi's mind that is well under control and united with the Atman. A beautiful example that Sri Krishna gives over here. The flame of a lamp, especially oil lamp, or even a candle is moving at all times. It is flickering million times a minute or so. So it is all the time it is flickering and it is moving at all times. But put it in a place where there is no disturbance, where there is no wind, it will shine brightly and it will not flicker. Similarly, our mind needs to be quietened. When you do that, you will see everything very clearly. That is the idea. So Patanjali calls this as Chitta Vritti Nirodha. What is yoga? Yoga is nothing but Chitta Vritti, the mind meditations, the waverings, the flickerings of the mind is Nirodha. It is brought under control. It is brought under one's own control. That is the idea. The question that is asked, and the commentator is asking the question and answering it, says, when you do so, doesn't the mind become blank? Doesn't the mind have a void? Doesn't it become blank? No. The answer is no. What will happen is that your mind will be filled with the vrittis or with the thoughts of Brahman, of the divine. Patanjali expands it and he says, after Chitta Vritti Nirodha, after you bring all of your mind under control, what happens? Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. That means you will be established in your natural position. Our original and natural position is that we are in the divine. We are in Brahman. Our mind has to be in Brahman and it can be in Brahman. But we have loaded it with too many wants and needs, etc., desires, etc. So therefore, we are not able to see that source of joy and peace within ourselves. So the example that is given is a glass. You take a glass of water and then you throw a pin into the water and you look from outside. What do you see? The pin has bent, isn't it? You will see the pin as being bent. Take it out and you will see, no, the pin has not been bent, it is straight. Is it really bent? No, it is not really bent. When the water is still, then the pin will appear straight. But if the water is shaken, when you drop it, when there is movement, then it appears to be bent. Similarly, this Atman or the peace that is within us, it never undergoes any change at all. But due to external disturbances that we ourselves throw into it, it appears as changing. So Patanjali expands on it and he says, Vritti sarupyam itaratra. Except when composed, when it is totally under control, the jiva becomes one with the vritti, like the pin appearing as bent. In the same way, the jiva or the divine within itself, it thinks, oh, I am having these desires. I want this, I want that. So all these desires is because of this false identification with the jiva or the embodied being. Therefore, vritti sarupyam itaratra, that is, except when composed, the jiva becomes one with the vrittis, as it were, one with the disturbances, as it were, and therefore it is not able to realize that peace that is itself. Peace is itself. Shantoyam says the Upanishads. What is the nature of this Atman, this self? It is of the very nature of Shanti, which very nature of peace. That peace is within ourselves and we are trying to seek for it externally. So dive deep, as I said again before, you turn the focus upon your own mind. Turn it to yourself. This is what we do in meditation. When we are sitting for meditation, when we try to meditate, what we should do ideally is focus all the energies within yourself. Bring out all the energies within ourselves. Let us do it for 5 minutes. Let us close our eyes for a few minutes and sit straight. Breathe very normally. Feel the inflow and outflow of your breath. Just feel it. When you do so, the breathing also becomes regulated. Now let us feel that all our thoughts, our feelings, our external world, everything is coming and merging within our heart, within the spiritual heart, as if it is a ray. They are all different rays of light. So focus all of those thoughts, all of those feelings, all the sounds that you hear, all the smells that you smell, everything, convert them into rays of light and focus it on the light that is within your heart. The very source of all truth, all knowledge, all joy are there. The very source is in that self, within our own being. I am one with the whole of the universe. The universe is within me. I am the universe. Let us chant Om 3 times. Take a deep breath. Another deep breath. Third one. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So this is what Sri Krishna is meaning here, focusing all of your energies on your very own self. Not outside, but within your own self. So one of the questions that is asked by the commentator is how to achieve this kind of oneness with our own selves. So he says, he gives the answer, when you become yatha chittasya, that means when you win over your mind, when you have mastery over your mind, then this oneness can be achieved. Oneness, this peace will come within your own self. So, can one that has won this race, that means if you have achieved this kind of concentration once, it happens. For very serious aspirants, it happens that sometimes your mind becomes totally at peace. You become totally composed. And you think that you have achieved, you have become a realized person. So the question is asked, can one remain in that state all the time? If I have achieved it once, does it mean that I will remain in that state all the time? So the commentator says there, no. Atmanaha yunjataha, in this verse Sri Krishna says, Atmanaha yunjataha. You should have constant practice. Yunjataha means you should always be practicing this at all times. Do not trust the mind. It can be very treacherous if we do not trust the mind. Sri Ramakrishna used to give an example of Totapuri, his guru, Advaita guru. Totapuri was a realized soul. He had practiced this meditation for 40 years and he had achieved samadhi. He had reached that state of samadhi. Yet, Sri Ramakrishna would see that Totapuri would sit for hours in the morning and meditate. And after meditation, he would take his copper water pot. He would go to the banks of the river Ganga, and there he would take some sand from the Ganga, and then he would shine it. He would wash it. He would shine it for a long period of time. He would do that. He didn't have any other positions except that copper pot for drinking water, and he used to clean it, and it would shine as if it were a golden vessel. So Sri Ramakrishna asked him, well, sir, how is it that you do not have any possessions, but you seem to be very attached to your water pot? Totapuri asked, why do you say so? Well, I see that every morning without failure, you go to the Ganga and then you clean this water pot thoroughly and you shine it every day. Then Totapuri smiled and said, "Look, this water pot is indicative of the sadhana of my mind. I need to clean it all the time. While I am cleaning it every day, I am reminding myself that I need to practice my spiritual practice without fail. Every day I need to cleanse it every day so that it is shining at all times." So, there is no holiday for spiritual practice. Every day, constantly keep on doing it. The shine will be kept, will be preserved. Otherwise, sometimes some dirt and some stains might overtake our mind. That is why he is saying, Yunjato yogam atmanaha. Yogino yatachittasya yunjataha yogam atmanaha. One should practice it. Yunja means practice. Constant practice. Dirghakala nairantarya satkara asevitaha dridabhumihi. Patanjali again says, Dirghakala, it may take a long time. Nairantarya, but it should be constant. Satkara asevitaha. One should practice it with great respect and reverence. Then you will be established in that firm state. So this is this is where we will stop for today, and we will take up the 20th verse next Sunday when we meet here. Swami Tadananda will now give his class on the mind management techniques. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.